Hello and welcome to the first of my retro game review video series. Um, I'm not the first person to be doing this on YouTube, but seeing as I've been playing games for a very, very long time, for about 35 years at least, probably more than that, I thought I'd start right at the beginning on the first computer that I play games on, which is the Commodore Pet. So, Pet, released in 1979, I believe, was one of the big three, along with the Apple II and the TRS-80, or Trash 80, as some of us like to call it. Um, and it was one of the first sort of ready assembled computers that you could buy, plug in at home, and start working on. And this is Commodore's offering. And we had one when I was a kid. We had a disk drive for it, and my dad even rigged up a sound system for it, which I'll go into in a bit. So I thought we'd start right at the beginning of my gaming career and review the first game I ever remember playing on the Pet, which is Space Invaders, which was a direct clone of the arcade. Now, I think Space Invaders came out in 78 stroke 79, and it came out for the Pet just after, probably about 1980. But I know it did work on the original chiclet key Pet 2001 models with the old blue and white screen. So it was able to run in 4K. So, quick intro on the Pet. It has Commodore Basic 2, the same as the Commodore 64. The one I had as a kid was the model 3032 or 3032, which had 32K of RAM in it. It didn't have any CRT controller chip. That came with the 4032 and the 8032 models, so you couldn't do any VSync tips and tricks with your game coding. Came with a built-in green phosphorus screen, as you can see on the video here. And yes, all the games were played with keys. There was no joysticks as such. I mean, there may have been one or two cobbled together ones, but I don't remember having one. Every game I played was with keys. Um, Space Invaders, then. Okay, so as we did when I had one, and it's the same as a Commodore 64. You put the disk in, and you type this to load the directory up. Okay, and that showed you what's on the disk. Obviously, this is downloaded from the internet version, so the capitalization doesn't look very good, but on your original Pet, it was all in capitals. Okay, so before we kick the game off, I'll just give an intro how I'm going to rate each game. It will be graphics, which is a rating of 1 to 5. Audio, which would be 1 to 5. And gameplay, 1 to 5. Okay, I will take into consideration everything to do with the Pet. I mean, the audio did not come as standard. You could jury rig your IEEE port into an amp using a resistor and some soldering skills, and some games took advantage of that. Some didn't, which will affect their rating. There is no sprite or bitmap graphics like the VIC-20, 64, etc., etc. So all the graphics are made up from these PETSCII characters. Well, I'll just type a few in. Okay, and I don't know how to get the rest up, but yeah, now I've reversed it. So you only had a few to choose from. So part of the game graphics would be the creative use of these. Right, so without any further ado, we will get the game loaded up. Oops. Let's remember, you can only bring numbers up using the keypad, just like the real Pet. And run. First of all, before I do that, we'll have a look at the list, and we'll see it's just a standard syscall, which means the entire game is written in machine code or assembly language. And on a Pet, that's the only real way to get the speed you needed for an arcade game. So, without any further ado, we will get a game going. First thing we're presented with here is a little Petsky diagram of how to produce the sound. So the parallel port or IEEE port at the back, you would have a breakout adapter which you'd fit on it, and then to two of the pins you'd solder some cables and a resistor, and you'd put that into your audio amp. Okay, I've got all that emulation set up, and you'd be interested to know that my dad has still got a Pet that I bought him a couple of years ago, same as the one we originally had. And somebody's jury rigged an internal speaker into it using exactly this method. So it's slightly bigger than a PC speaker, and connected to a resistor and connected inside to the IEEE port. So yeah, it works pretty well. Right, so we will hit space and we'll look. So as with the arcade clone, it tells us what everything's worth. We see our invaders here. There's 4 of them, and the points they're worth. Then another one comes along and corrects the spelling mistake. I believe that or something similar was also in the arcade. And then we get a demo mode. Now, the first thing that I see with this is how smoothly the player's tank is controlled. I mean, it's quite hard to see here, but what we'll do is we will kick a game off. We'll hit the space bar. It's 4 and 6 left and right, and A is fire, I believe. So here we go. Let's see, and we've got some basic sounds. And if you look at the bottom, how smooth the tank is to move. It doesn't look like it's advancing one character at a time, does it? Well, we'll look a bit further into that in the video. We'll have a quick game now. I mean, this is the first game I ever played, first computer game, way back, probably about 1980, 81, when I was about 4. And this is one of 2 Space Invaders clones I've played on the Pet. The other one, oh God Almighty! The other one was Jesus, couldn't do anything there. Right, game over. So the other one was all blocks, so it didn't have different invader shapes. So we'll have another game. Let's see if we can get past the first level. So as you can see, very creative use of Petsky here. We've got dollar signs for the actual invader bombs, which is a little bit lame. I think an asterisk probably would have been better. Oh no, he uses that when you shoot one. Maybe something that... Oh, hey, I've got the bonus. Crap. Bollocks. Maybe something that isn't so obvious. Oh, that was close. Oh! Yeah, I love this. Even the nostalgia trip with the sounds is amazing for me. That's it. Didn't get past the first level. Okay, so let's have a little look into how the player's tank moves so smoothly. I've disassembled some of the code, and it was very hard going through it because my assembly is not the best. But I've used a trick of using the different character sets. So I thought I'd show you on this online Petski editor. I mean, it's designed for 64, but the characters are more or less the same, especially the graphics ones. So the way it works, okay, the ship is drawn using this one, then a block, okay, then half a block. As you can see, these are the characters we have. So we have this set, and this set under here is the same characters but reversed. So there is half a half here, so that goes there. Okay, and here we've got a different character. It's this one, and then we have the block. Okay, I might be wrong there actually. I think we've got that there. That looks more like it. And then the half block is the other side, which is there. So that's our player character. Now, to move that left or right smoothly, if you took exactly that and moved it along, it would, you'd see it shift 8 pixels at a time. So they've got it to shift 4 pixels at a time, and they've used this nifty little trick. So we will draw one directly underneath. Okay, so we use slightly different characters here. We use this one here, and that will go here. Okay, then we have our block here. We have one of these here. We have another block here, one here, and then our half block, which is here. So you can see from, let's move the cursor out of the way, you can see how that was done. So it's moving 4 pixels across each time, and instead of 8. And that gives us the benefit of, a lot smoother scrolling, which sadly wasn't utilised by a lot of the Pet games, as we'll see in later reviews. The bullet, you had 2 options here. So you had this bullet here. Oops, I don't think that was right. I think that goes, you had that one there. Let's blank that off. Which fired from this shape here. That looked like it from the bottom one. And then from the top one, we had, I believe this. I believe it was this one, which lines up there, and that's how they did it. And these other sort of blocks in various states were used to make the bases that you fire through, so you wouldn't fire through sort of an 8x8 block at each time. Okay, so yeah, that is how the smooth scrolling was done. Okay, now we're back here. We will have one more game and start the review. Okay, so graphics. Well, call me biased, but the tips and tricks they've used, especially with the tank and making the invaders look unique and semi-close to what you'd see in the arcade, with given what they had available, I'm going to give it 5 joysticks. So 5 out of 5. Okay, so we will go for audio. Very similar to the graphics. The Pet didn't have any audio capabilities built in. This was made using jury rigging and some creative coding. So I'm going to give the audio 5 joysticks as well. Again, that's 5 out of 5. Okay, and obviously doing very well here. As frustrating as I find the game, I just keep coming back for more. It's the standard formula. It's what kicked off the gaming revolution in the arcades back in the late 70s. And, you know, it's just as enjoyable, challenging, frustrating, and all-round entertaining as the arcade original. And yeah, given the system it's on, which is a 6502 processor, well under 1 kilohertz. Is it kilohertz? Yes, it's kilohertz. I believe all mega. Is it megahertz? Oh, my brain's gone dead. It's very fast. It's very responsive. So I'm going to give the gameplay 5 joysticks. And on that note, okay, for the game score, we will do an average of the 3 ratings, so it won't come as any surprise that this is a 5 joystick overall score. And in my opinion, it thoroughly deserves it. 5 joystick game this for the Commodore Pet. And I am really enjoying playing this. I'm not very good at this. My reactions are nowhere near as good as they were back in the 80s. But I just thoroughly enjoy playing it. And having this at home was just an awesome experience. And yeah, this is, when I remember it, this is probably just before the VIC-20 came out. Oh, that hit him. Oh, whoa! Hey, right, we finally got past the level. It's, yeah. So obviously, when for home gaming, when the VIC-20 came out and the BBC, all in, you know, 80, 81 time, then the games were a lot more advanced, and obviously they had advanced in the arcades. You had Pac-Man and all the rest. But this is where it all started for me at home, and this is where it all started for probably a lot of people as well. And Space Invaders is where it all started for the gaming in general. So on that note, Space Invaders, 5 joystick game, no doubt about it. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next review video.